What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to this impromptu video here on Anfield Agenda. This was supposed to be me recording my Wolves preview, but with the passing of Queen Elizabeth, it looks like all Premier League fixtures will be postponed for a couple of weeks. We await official confirmation of that tomorrow. And of course, my condolences to anybody from the UK. Look, I put it into our chat and asked what people would like me to speak about, and Hannah made a very good suggestion saying, why don't you speak about what you think is going wrong at Liverpool and what could be done to maybe fix it. So I think that's as good a thing as any, so I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes or so giving you guys a few reasons that I think we aren't performing to the levels we normally would. And of course, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section. Drop a like on the video, and as you can see from the top corner, we're closing in on 150,000 subscribers. Your help will be really appreciated. Right, look, let's start off with the players. Let's start off with the fatigue or the hangover from last season. Yes, I believe that is real, but I don't think physically it should or can be used as an excuse. The lads have got a rest in the summer. The Klopp and the coaches had a chance to look at them in pre-season, and if they believed that the lads were looking a bit tired and needed a bit more R&R or weren't up to it, they should have even more forcefully demanded that they bring in reinforcements in the window. I understand the club don't want short-term solutions and that they have their targets, but ultimately I feel like we're being too picky, and Klopp not getting his 1, 2, 3 on his list has left us in a predicament where we just don't have enough midfielders, let alone the midfielders of the quality that Jurgen Klopp would want to work in his system. The signing of Arthur may work out, it may not work out, but it was a panic signing. We all know that. Liverpool knew in January, if you're to look at reports, that Arlian Tchouameni was most likely going to choose Real Madrid as his next destination. So that was gone. That wasn't an option. Liverpool knew that in January. If you add to that the fact that everybody knew that Borussia Dortmund weren't going to sell Jude Bellingham in this window, the feigning of surprise that the targets weren't available is one that I think wrangles a lot of us Liverpool fans, because there are a lot of players who would be an upgrade on Milner, on Oxlade-Chamberlain, on an ageing Jordan Henderson, on Curtis Jones, and Naby Keita perhaps as well. So what's gone wrong? Is there something going on behind the scenes? You know, I've no proof that there's anything going on behind the scenes, but I think if I was to make an educated guess on it, I do feel like there's probably some characters who may be causing a little bit of discontent, or players who are dragging others down. Now, you can think that I'm making this up, and that's, you know, it's just an opinion. But look at the Naby Keita situation. Jurgen Klopp said that he's injured. Guinea have announced them in their squad for the upcoming international games. Liverpool also didn't include him in the Champions League group stage squad. So I think it's a little bit more than an injury with Naby. I think there maybe is an acceptance there that his future won't be at Liverpool, that he maybe isn't putting in the effort required, and he's being a little bit disrespectful perhaps in a few of the leaks that we've seen out in the media, suggesting that he's not happy with his game time and all of this stuff. Ultimately, Liverpool paid 50 odd million quid, 54 million quid for Naby Keita, and it hasn't worked out, partially because his body is broken down and hasn't been able for the rigours of the Premier League, and partly because when he has been played, he hasn't shown enough consistency to be constantly put into Jurgen Klopp's team. Nobody will deny the lad has talent, but ultimately he hasn't pushed on and he hasn't developed into the player that we would have wanted. Add to that the fact that I think too many people are playing off reputations, past reputations currently. Trent Alexander-Arnold was a disgrace yesterday against Napoli. A disgrace. And if you think I'm overreacting, pull some clips, have a look at it. He doesn't even try on many occasions. Just stand there and looks at attacks developing and looks at Napoli scoring. And it's not good enough. James Milner will always give you effort, will always give you 100% commitment, but he's still a 37-year-old man, and there are still restrictions on what he can do, and he's never been a creative spark at the best of times. So the fact that we had to start James Milner away in Naples in a Champions League game is an indictment of the squad, and we can't get away from that. You can tell me that we've been really unlucky with injuries, and yes, we have, but you would also be honest if you really said to yourself, well, are we surprised that some of these candidates are injured? Are we surprised that Thiago will miss half the games? Are we surprised Keita is a hospital case? Are we surprised that an ageing Jordan Henderson is starting to pick up more muscle injuries and strains? That James Milner isn't really capable of it? That Curtis Jones is in and out? That his form is up and down? And that he's had some injuries? That Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain is injured again. No, these can't be surprising to us. And if they're not surprising to us, I refuse to believe that Jurgen Klopp isn't aware of this as well. So what can you take from that? Well, you can take from it that maybe Jurgen Klopp is being a bit of a yes man to FSG. You can take that maybe Jurgen Klopp really does trust in these players that are letting him down and are potentially going to affect his legacy at the club. So what I'd like to see happen is Jurgen Klopp to stop playing favourites and Jurgen Klopp to start playing people based on their performances and based on their work and training. Trent should be dropped for the next game. Salah should be dropped for the next game. Gomez should be dropped for the next game. Milner should be dropped for the next game. But they won't be. Mohamed Salah, I believe, is an exceptional case. I do think when you have players of his standing in the game, players of his calibre, players who have delivered for us like he has consistently as a goal scorer since he's come to the club, I can understand the manager's thought process of trying to play him back into form. But to do that, I feel like we need to play to his strengths. And I don't feel sticking him out far on the right wing is going to get him inside the penalty area, scoring the goals and creating the opportunities that we know he's capable of. So what I'd like to see happen is him playing a little bit closer to Darwin Núñez, learning how to play off him and learning how to work alongside Darwin and getting the best out of each other. That will come with time, and it will come when they get used to each other's movements, and it will come, of course, with repetition on the training ground. So Mo will get a pass from me because he's special. He's a special footballer. And one thing we can say about Mo is he might not be scoring, he might not be creating as much as he should, but one thing I will never label at the man is that he's not putting in effort. He puts in effort. He tracks back, he works hard, he runs the channel, he's always up for the physical battle. So Mo gets a pass because of that, because he puts in that graft and he puts in that effort. And I've been critical of him, and I will continue to be critical of him in individual games for individual performances, but ultimately I think he's earned the right to have this blip. And I don't think it's to do with his contract. Others seem it might be. I don't think he's that type of person. So after that, what do we do? Where do we go? I think the owners really, really need to have a look at what they want from Liverpool Football Club, because it's all very well and good when you're in the Champions League every season and we're challenging Manchester City and things are going great. But they haven't learned lessons from the centre-back crisis. And here we are again, only for now it's a midfield crisis. And they had a chance to resolve it in the window, and they didn't. They left it to the very end. I think it was midnight the night before, and we ended up bringing in Arthur, who isn't even fit enough yet because he hasn't been playing enough football. And we don't know if he'll be a good enough fit or not. So the whole talk about not bringing somebody in because they don't get the calibre of footballers available that they want, I don't believe is true. Because we've ended up with a loan signing who most likely isn't going to be the calibre that Jurgen Klopp wants anyway. So yes, it's a temporary measure, but I still think it's short-sighted. I really do. Add to that the fact that Trent has no real competition yet. You know, you can talk about Robbo, and at least there's the option there to bring Costas on, or, you know, Costas to push Robbo on in training. We haven't seen Calvin Ramsey yet because unfortunately, you know, that injury showed up in his medical and we haven't seen him play at all. Nico Williams has been moved on to Nottingham Forest, and they're the only real right backs that we have at the club. Yes, Gomez can play there. Yes, Milner can play there. Fabinho could probably play there. But Trent knows he's not in the competition. He knows he's got nobody breathing down his throat. And the manager needs to remind Trent Alexander-Arnold, like other players, that he is not undroppable, that he is not bigger than the club, that he is not going to accept not running, not closing, not pressing, not working hard. Now, Jurgen Klopp spoke in his post-match press conference and his post-match interviews after the Napoli game, and people were questioning the high line. And do I think the high line has something to do with our problems? Yes. We are being constantly exposed. And Klopp will say to you it's because of the counter-press. And Jurgen Klopp is probably right. But the point being is, how many times do we have to continue the counter-press not working and it affecting the high line, causing us to concede chances before Jurgen Klopp says, right, well, if the counter-press isn't working and I can't get players to actually do what I want them to do there, then we have to look at other ways to stop conceding goals, and that would be to get the defence to drop 10 or 15 yards deeper. Maybe to get our full-backs attacking less and concentrating more on defending. I'd like to see us switch up the system to a 4-2-3-1, where we have two double pivot players in midfield, Fabinho and Thiago, with somebody with a bit more creativity ahead of them, whether that's Elliott, whether that's Bobby Firmino dropping back a bit deeper, whether that's Jota playing in behind, I don't know. But constantly doing the same things, picking the same players, and being shocked when the same performances from the same players are coming in week after week is not going to resolve this. Jurgen Klopp has some difficult decisions to make, and the real managers, the real top tier legacy managers, yes, they're great at motivating players. Yes, they're great at getting performances, but they also have a ruthless streak. And ultimately, it's Jurgen Klopp's legacy at the football club that could be ruined by these players, some of these players, because it's always the managers that get the chop. But ultimately, if the players aren't putting in the hard yards and the shift for the manager, they need to be called out on it as well. Football fans will accept a lot. Football fans will accept players not performing to the skill levels required if they are putting in the hard yards, if they are chasing, if they are pressing, if they are doing everything they can to help their teammates out. And there's too many players at the minute just not doing that. It's not a great look when the lads are having a pop at each other on the pitch. And I feel like Jurgen Klopp just needs to make some difficult decisions. Don't play the lads who aren't playing well. Show them that there are consequences for their actions. And yes, he's not infallible himself. Some of his team selections have left us all scratching our heads. Some of his reluctance to make changes. How James Milner, Gomez and Trent weren't all pulled at halftime in Napoli is beyond me, because it was shambolic. It was disgusting, the levels of performance. And again, only one of them was changed at halftime. What message does that send? What message does that send to Costas? What message does that send to other players who aren't getting picked ahead of Klopp's favourites or Klopp's trusted lieutenants? They shouldn't be trusted lieutenants anymore if they aren't putting in the performances, because they're still going to get their wage. They're still going to see their contract out. But it's the manager, a generational manager, who could be in trouble. And people ask me, what would it take for me to be Klopp out? I don't think there's anything. I don't think there's anything I could see that would make me Klopp out. And I don't think Klopp is the big problem here. I think our owners and players who've maybe got nothing left in the tank are the real issue. If Klopp was given the tools to do his job to the best of his ability, I feel like we'd be in a much better position. So I hope that some serious conversations are happening between FSG and Klopp behind the scenes, and that we will see the investment that is needed, because make no bones about it, whether you're FSG in, FSG out, this midfield isn't good enough. Trent needs competition at right back, and we need it to happen soon. So look, that's all I've got to say in it for the minute. We will come back. We will be better. The performances will pick up. Players coming back from injury will help us out, and players' form will start to be rediscovered. But it has to happen soon. And if it doesn't happen soon and Klopp's not seen it on the training ground, make them big calls, because you will be backed by the fans, because they know that we have a special manager. That's kind of all I've got to say in it, to be honest with you guys. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think is wrong. And as always, I appreciate your time. I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.